Here comes Mr. Nobody walking down the... Hello, everybody. Just a heads up. As of today, I am going into drum mode in my brain because I'm going to be doing a bunch of shows with a small orchestra, and I'm looking forward to it. So tonight of this recording is going to be is our first rehearsal, and then tomorrow night we're doing our first show. So I'm going to try to fit in videos in between. I'm going to try to get the recording done. My main goal is still to get the song challenge done and out of the way, so that we can do the mix downs, because I want to do that. That's important to me. And then I want to move on to the 788. The next thing is thanks for watching the 788 videos. Like, holy smokes, I didn't expect such a influx of people to watch them. I'm quite excited about it. I'm chatting with a guy who owns one, and he complains about, the things that I didn't know, that I'm learning now because I didn't have one. And he's telling me, you can't get the songs off the machine. Well, you can, and we're going to do that. And it just reminds me of working with a cassette deck again. That's pretty much where it is for me here. So that being said, so what I'm going to do today, a little different. We're going to talk about where, my opinion of the machines at this moment. So, how do I feel about what I'm doing and the machine? So I'm going to go over to my board here. I brought it up again. So Excel is my baby. I love using Excel for a lot of things. Tracking stuff is great. Ranking stuff is great. I know people use this website to do it. I'm not going to worry about that. So we've talked about a few of these things here. So such as compression inputs, assignable inputs, and then the Model 24 you can assign it, and we know that. Number of tracks. So I should pull up my recording thing. Maybe I'll do that after I'm done this one. So noise reduction. We've talked about that, where the 2480 does not have any noise reduction, so there's no gating or anything on it. The DP32 does, and the Model 24 doesn't. Honestly, the Model 24 is literally geared for somebody who's sitting down. It kind of reminds me of, because I have a Behringer Euro Rack mixer amplifier, and I had that PV mixer amplifier. It kind of reminds me of that. It's more of I need a mixer amplifier that I can sit down and I can just use in a live setting and play and record. And I just want to be able to have the basics of what I need. So that's like with your effects. And I'm going to get to that as well. So that's another thing I'm going to talk about once we get to that point with the machine. So that being said, let's talk about bouncing tracks. Well, you can internally bounce tracks on the 2488 and the DP32. I showed that last week. You can also do them externally if you want. That's fine. I could put internal, external. It depends how you set it up. But there is an actual function to bounce. I know the Model 12 has does it have a bounce function or a copy track function? I can't remember which one it has, but yeah, it has the ability to do that, but copy track is not really a bounce function. Bouncing means that you can merge a bunch together and then bring them over to another track. And then on the Model 24, you can do it. It's external. It's not hard to do. You can do it internally as well. You can use the main tracks and export them and then re-import them onto the tracks you want. I didn't want to do that because it was just going to take extra time and I didn't feel like it. So, but you can do it externally. Next is effects loop. Okay, I haven't gotten into this a lot. I just started looking into it because I'm getting to that point in the recording. You have internal and external effects loops. You have one internal. They have a loop track, which I think is reverb only. I have to look. Don't quote me on that. And then we have the external ones, which are your two sends and then your returns. The DP32. I called it one mix, and if you're wondering what that is, that's because send one can be the internal effect as well as the external effect. So you can have both on at the same time. So if you have something going out send one on the system externally and then coming back in, and you also have the effects send on, and you're using that, they both work together. They both work in parallel. So it's kind of like having an A/B pedal, or a parallel pedal where you have your signal coming in and then it separates it and goes into two different devices. Yeah, so that's there. And you have that, and then you have one external, which is your send to. Your send to is not linked to anything; it's just there. It's linked to the external send, but it's not linked to anything internal. So you're just using it; it's just there. So yeah, that was why I put that. Now, last time I did a test on this, so on the Model 24, you have an internal or external, meaning that if you turn off the effects loop, the internal effects system on the board, there's an FX send output that you can use that will go and do that. It will be your external send. So you have that ability. It's there, but it's either internal or external. I don't know if they switched it. I know that they did do a change to it because I found a bug where if I plugged in while the machine was on, it would kill the machine because the effects loop something would lock in the effects loop system and boom, gone. So they fixed that. Good for fixing that. Then you have two auxiliaries, and then you have the stereo sub out. So you have a lot of options on the Model 24 how to send effects. It's really nice. So you have two auxiliaries, and then you have the stereo send. So if you finagle it just right, you can do a lot with it. So, yeah, we're going to get into that more once we're down to the mix down. Ease of use I put on here as well because everybody asked me which one's easier to use. Now, I was going to rank it, and then I'm like, no, I'm not going to rank it because it depends on where you came from. But I will say the Model 24, if you come from a cassette background, if you come from a mixing background, the Model 24 is the easiest because it's just straight. You put in the input and it goes straight down the list, and then it's your fader, and that is everything. That's your whole track. So you can't get any easier than that. Whereas with the 2488, the DP32, you have to assign both of them. Yeah, so that's a little different. It's a little different. It's a learning curve. There's a lot of learning curves with those two because everything is digital, and everything is like you have to go into tracks, and then you have to select your track and set your settings, and then go to the next one. And so it's a little more involved. I do think after looking at the 2488, a lot of it is better than the DB32, but a lot of it is not. Whereas I'm gonna have to show this at some point where the 2488 you go in and you say mixer, like, let's see, is it mixer? Okay, so you go fader pan, for instance. So you go to your fader and your pan thing, and then it'll show you like 3 or 4 channels at once. So you can actually see those 4 channels. Whereas on the DP32, when you go into the mixer, you're looking at the one channel that you're on, and you can switch. And I do that a lot. I'll sit there and I'll just switch between them to see how they match, which is great. But yeah, it's a little more involved. Like it's not you're not seeing the whole list. You're just seeing 2 different ones, and then you have your Model 24 where it's just right in front of you. Anyways, there's no screen. Yeah, so that's nice too. I should put the screen on here as well. So I would say that now my 2488, the screen is a little light. It's hard to read at times. I have been playing with the contrast a bit. I've gotten to a point where I can read it without having to like go close or change my glasses. But it's still it's light, but it's it's a square screen, whereas the DP32 is more of a, a rectangular screen. Um, and I think in the case, the DP32 is nice because it's bright, it's colorful, it's smaller for like older guys like me with the glasses on. It's a little more difficult to read, but it's not bad. I'm not going to complain about it. And then yeah, the Model 24 is just that little strip, and I wish it was better. That's all I'm going to say on that one. I understand why it's just a strip because they're looking, because like as they've gradually go as they're moving along, they've gone more to, well, we're gonna assume that people are going to use this for a, like with a DAW, along with a DAW kind of thing, and that's why they did that. That's why you have the 2400, which is more, fully functioning with a computer. So yeah, so that's where I'm at right now with this stuff. Let's pull up. I'll just pull up quickly file, one song three challenge. All right, so I have filled in where I want to be with this now. So let's talk about that here. So yeah, so this is where, so anything in green is final. So what I'm looking to do is, like, we are currently at the bounce guitar, so we're here and then here, and that one's a little more harder to see, but right there. So that's what I've done so far. I want to add some extra guitar to it. So that's why I once again I have it set up for the extra guitar, and that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to mix this extra guitar down to 1920 on the 2488, and then I'm just going to do vocals. And I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to I want to do a lead guitar as well. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. Double Knit asked me to. He says I should do a lead guitar on this. And I said okay. I'm gonna do the best I can. I'm gonna use on that one. I'm gonna use the Roland back behind me there. So yeah. So I'm gonna do the main vocals, double the main vocals, backing vocals, and then yeah, lead guitar. And so then that will end us up with the mix down stage, where I'll have the main, where all these are there. And the reason why on the 2488 I have the mix down here is because you can do a mix down on the 2488, but if you don't burn it to a CD, you will have to, you can transfer it as tracks to the two tracks. You can transfer the tracks from the mix down to the tracks, and so that's why I have 1314 set up for that. So yeah, so the thing is, so then yeah, now as you can see, the mid toms here is gone because I did that before here with doing the bass, and then I lost it. So that is a sad reality to this recording so far, to this thing. So I'm not going to worry about that. The DP32 has its own mix down area, so same setup. This is what we're going to do, and then as you can see, we're just going to like fill in the blanks here, and we're going to be left with about, I don't know, about 4, 5, 6 empty tracks to do other stuff if I want to at any time. And then on the Model 24, and then I have the mix down here, and the mix down is going to be on the mains because that's where it ends up, and that's fine. That works out. So that's why I kept having the main here without anything in it. And we're gonna, at this point, we will use the effects loop. And yeah, so so far it is working out. Yeah, I like I said, I'm sorry this is not a progress video on the recordings. It's kind of a mix of, this is where we're gonna go. This is how I feel right now. Now I will say I am enjoying this. I am really enjoying learning the differences, learning how they all work together, or how they all work, and yeah, and how to put a song together on all three. And yeah, like I said, I'm not going to recommend one to anybody because they're all different. The one thing I will say is if you're willing to spend the money to find a 2488 because you want things like the MIDI and that, MIDI, if you want the MIDI like that and stuff that doesn't get offered on the newer models, the DP32, the Model 24, you know, these things. The Model 2400 has a MIDI setup. I don't know how decent it is. At some point, I'm gonna have to sit down and work on that and see how that works. But either way, if you're willing to take the chance, because like I say, take the chance, because this is an old machine. You know, same with the 788. It's an old machine. So, you know, you're playing with fire. You may end up with, like, I have my 464, which I want to use, but I can't because I got to get the belt replaced, and I was going to do it myself. And then I looked at the work involved to do it, and I'm like, well, I'm going to just see if I can find somebody, because I also want to get the 238 here fixed, the 8-track rack model that I have, because I would love to put this in a rack, in an actual rack, and have it by itself in that rack, and have a patch bay and everything for it. So that's where I'm at right now. Once again, thanks for watching. You guys make this channel what it is. So I will talk to you later. Bye.